Things got a little bit heated at a recent Global Chess Committee debate about whether or not this is the most brutal chess slaughter of August 13th, 2024 in Titillating Tuesday. It was, however, agreed eventually, yes it is. We have Jeffrey Xiong playing with the white pieces here, a youngster from the United States of America, and his opponent with the black pieces is Magnus Carlsen, world number one. And what an opening we get. It's online chess, clock times on the left. After pawn to d4, Magnus plays knight f6. What an opening variation we get. And by the way, the winner of this game wins the entire tournament, the late edition. So after c4, the most explosive move, Magnus decides to build the banana hammock. Now we get knight c3. Is he going for a Grunfeld with d5? No, he's not. We get the bishop fianchettoing onto the chocolate slide, and Daenerys flies the trio of dragons down the board, seizing the center. Magnus goes d6, doesn't allow e5. You can castle there, not play d6. If e5, knight e8 if you're feeling a bit frisky. But Magnus keeps it steady, and now the main move is knight f3. But I love these kind of systems. Bishop e2. I like playing h3 and then bishop e3. These kind of approaches where white attacks black, an uno reverso. So castle's played by Magnus. Now bishop e3. Look at the clergyman stacked like oarsmen in a boat, and we've got the king at the back. The Cox, spelt with an X. Keep your minds out the gutter, please. We're keeping it PG. And what can black do here? Well, push a pawn. That's the usual way. But Magnus, playing very provocatively, develops the second knight, softly nickering as he does so, and he's asking white, do you want to push on? Yes, Jeffrey does. Oftentimes, this pawn's here or something, right? So you've got a square here, but not today. The knight now has to centralize. Does Jeffrey hang about? No, he doesn't. f4 for the score. Sets up the old bayonet pawn formation. And if you ever face this, be very careful touching this pawn here, the pointy end of the bayonet. It's sharp. Now we see the knight dropping back. This one develops into the game. I mean, look at the position. Visually, the center is under siege. Black cramped, no space. This is why you don't see a lot of King's Indian defense at the top level. But Kasparov, he's nodding away approvingly. He's happy Magnus played it. It was his old favourite. Magnus now plays e6, playing to undermine the centre. A word, by the way, that comes from when they literally used to mine under the wall, try and collapse it. Awesome stuff. We now see takes on e6. Pawn recaptures, and this one charges forward with gusto, attacking the weakened pawn. Magnus defends like this. At first I was thinking maybe knight b5, but as usual I'm a terrible waste of space of a chess player. Not a good move. The king should castle, which Jeffrey does. If you'd have done that one, you're wasting time. h6 comes, black goes knight c5, covers the pawn, the centre's under fire. Suddenly the tables turn, but these top grandmasters, they're too good. Magnus now builds a second banana hammock, very rarely seen, and he prepares to fianchetto the rook. Watch this. We get bishop f3. Look at those laser beams pointed at the queen's side, and Magnus starts the maneuver here. We get queen c2. Rook shouldn't be split, and now we get it. Rook to b7, the rook fianchetto, and what does it unleash? Absolute pandemonium in the white position. Jeffrey doesn't know what's going on. All his pieces backpedaling. He even blunders the queen, Botez Gambit styley. He's so thrown by the rook fianchetto. Alas, that didn't happen. That was a parallel universe. That was analysis mode. We come back to real life. Magnus fianchettos the bishop. They're crossing swords, advised on the chessboard, not in church. And now we see rook e1, the cannons centralizing, and we've got ABBA reunited. The boys at the back, ladies at the front. Jeffrey's singing away, and h6 is best, but Magnus misses it. He just lets this knight carry on all up in his grill and goes pawn a5. Now it makes sense to secure the knight outpost, but it's slow. Jeffrey starts turning the screw here, could play an immediate f5, but starts with king h1. After after it lifted the kimono. He's nervous. Magnus hits the outpost here, and this is really classy. If you go f5, immediately breaking, then black gets the opportunity to drop this knight back, support the other one. But what do we see? Jeffrey knows when to part with the bishop pair. This is classy stuff. Pawn recapturing, always take towards the centre, general rule of thumb, and now he goes f5. What's the big difference? No knight on c5, adding defence here, and here black's in a world of pain. You know, if you take, bang, you're opening the rook on the queen, you're in some trouble. If you don't take, I mean, I didn't explore this line, but okay, still we take, this is caving in. So Magnus goes e5, desperate to keep the lines closed, but now the follow-up of knight e6, a bone in the throat, an octopus that Stocktopus can be proud of. The rook saves itself here, but g4, vamos, look at that one. Gary the debt collector banging down the door. Now Stockadal wants knight e8, but then of course you could take here, for example, follow up with stuff like g5 and f6, really put the squeeze on. So Magnus takes, and now test your attacking skills. How would you recapture here? I'll give you 10 million seconds, see if you can find the right move. Very well done if you would take with the e pawn. This one looks natural, right? But it's just a bit slower because yes, you can kind of bring this g-file attack, but it's slow. You've got to stack the rooks, blah, blah, blah. Black gets time to defend. So what does Jeffrey do? He takes like this. No worries if you chose wrong. Just please leave us all an apology in the comments, you know, explaining yourself why your chess skills are just not at the level they should be. And now we see takes here with check. The rook recaptures, and this is the point. Everything now comes with tempo. g5 a threat to steamroll. They're coming down like space invaders. So the knight captures, of course, but the second rook piles on the pressure. When you see it played on the board, you suddenly understand why gambiting the pawn was good, but really not an obvious decision. Very classy stuff. Sorry I fast forwarded too fast. What if the knight retreats back here away from the attack? Well, the second rook piles up and it's like dog pile at school. What do? All the pieces are flooding in. If the knight moves, this one hits him, blah, blah, blah. So that's why we see the queen come out, support this knight here. And now the best move's actually knight e4. Queen g2 is played, so natural, piling on the pressure. But black has got this amazing shot that Stock Sturgeon finds. You can play here e4, not even defending the knight. Such a cool line, because if you capture, well then of course the rook drops, it's not good. And if you take, well this is very natural. Suddenly you've got this convergence on b2, and the sting at the end of the tail is that if you take the knight, you now get checkmated. Amazing lines that get found. So okay, that was technically best. Missed, naturally. Magnus goes h5 here, but there's big problems on the horizon. White wants to go rook h3, but don't do it straight away or you leave the protection of f2 and bang, that's a cold shower. Knight f2 check, the king boxed in, the queen would actually have to give itself up. This one recaptures. So knight e4 sets it all up. Now f2 is covered. Now the pawn is blockaded. It's absolute chaos in the black position. What does Magnus do? Rook h3 is on the way. Queen's got to go. Then the h pawn drops. Then the knight drops. It's brutal. So he goes kamikaze mode, just like in Worms. We see this one now not immediately recaptured. If queen takes, then this one drops. Still black's a lot better. You crash through here. But this is even more powerful. What play from Jeffrey on seconds. Double hit, so the queen slides over because of course now this one was defended too after the rook slid to the right. We see this one drop. Magnus a piece down, grabs himself a pawn. Maybe he's got two pawns now, but takes. Pawn recaptures, this one crashing through, and look at the king. It's getting ripped to shreds. It's devastating. Magnus throws in a check. What to do? He's hardly got a move. King g2 played, and now the top engine move here is king f7. That's what Stock Barnacle prefers. But then you sack an entire rook. So this one retreats. Defending, of course, but there's checkmating too. Can you find the move? I'll give you another 3 million seconds. Well done if you found knight f6 check. Absolute devastation. Nothing can move except the rook. Only legal move. And then this is how you shut the trap. A kind of Arabian checkmate. Stunning stuff. 31 moves. Magnus dismantled by Jeffrey. This is why you don't see a lot of KID at the top level. These were the final results I'm showing on screen. Jeffrey clinched it. What a performance. Smash subscribe if you enjoyed this video. It really helps me out. And check out the one on screen for another epic game of chess. Cheers.